Welcome. This is the last panel of our automotive event. And to cap off Mexico Now's successful three-day event, we have a very special panel today. We are delighted to have top corporate executives from AMPAC, from Daimler Commercial Vehicles, and from Volvo. We'll talk about their companies, their new initiatives, and the years ahead in 2025. I'm Gary Swedback, and I'll be your moderator for today. Here's the plan. We'll have a brief introduction of the panelists. We'll have a Q&A with me and the panel. And time permitting, we'll take some questions from the audience. If you look at your screen, there's a small Q&A icon right at the bottom. We'll try and get your questions afterwards. And then finally, we'll have a wrap and we'll ask each panelist what they see for the next 5 years. So please allow us to introduce the panelists. First up, Miguel Elizalde. Miguel, welcome. Miguel is the executive president of AMPAC, the National Association of Bus, Truck, and Tractor Trailer Manufacturers. And Miguel will share his thoughts today regarding the industry itself in Mexico, his organization, how they see the industry, and what's going to transpire for the next 5 years. Welcome, Miguel. You can go ahead and take your video or your audio if you want. Second up, Flavio Rivera. Flavio is the Director General for Daimler Commercial Vehicles. And welcome, Flavio, good to see you. Flavio will share his executive expertise regarding production in Mexico. And also, Luz Elena Jurado. Hi, Luz, how are you? Nice to see you today. Luz is the Director General of Volvo and Mack Trucks for Mexico, and she'll be sharing her views on technology, okay? So let's go ahead and start the panel. We'll begin with a short presentation session and sharing some background and information regarding the companies, and I'll go first. So if I can go ahead and activate my screen share here. So we'll each do a quick presentation just to share who we are and what we're doing here. So the corporate overview here is for NAI Mexico, and we're a global commercial real estate company. As you can see, we've got 375 offices, in most parts of the world. Just about anywhere where there's an industrial or manufacturing sector or an operation, especially automotive, we've got offices there. So this team here at NAI Global is headquartered in New York, and it's a large commercial brokerage operation. I have the good fortune to manage all the Mexico offices and also co-manage the South America offices. So again, wherever there's automotive or that's this sector in the industry, we've got a presence there, and this is my 27th year working in Mexico. I also have the honor of co-directing South America and Latin America. So you can see there's another 8 or 9 countries there. Real briefly, our services are brokerage services for tenant and buyers, for landlords and sellers. We also provide business advisory services. For tenants, we do multi-market analysis of different cities versus different cities, different countries, business climate, factors that global companies that are doing industrial need to consider beyond the real estate for operating decisions. We have a capital markets team that assists with sales leasebacks, portfolio sales. We also have a build team, which is a construction firm that builds industrial. That team then can do design and manufacturing. They can do project management, and they can design and engineering, and they can also build and construct. Finally, we have advisory also for supply chain solutions and for free trade zone analyses. So what we are is really, while we're a brokerage firm, we've integrated the other services that firms need when they're looking at operations decisions. Just a few of our clients. Our sectors that we represent companies are obviously automotive, but it ranges across the industrial spectrum to electronics and medical device and aerospace also. And last but not least, this is our team. You notice that we say we're all in this together. So, despite the pandemic, we've done a really good job with preventative measures, with working with our clients that are still active. And we're really pleased that we haven't lost anyone, gracias a Dios, as we say in Mexico. And as part of our corporate culture, we've decided that we're going to continue to invest. We're growing. We've grown during the pandemic this year pretty significantly, hiring. And with 27 years in Mexico, we're proud that we still have our feet on the pedal. We just don't know yet whether that pedal is going to be electronic or electric or gas in the next few years. So that's really quickly who we are. Up next, go ahead, Miguel, if you want to share a little bit about your firm and your team.
Well, thank you, Gary, for this opportunity, and thank you to all of Mexico Now friends. I will make a brief presentation of what is AMPAC. This is just a general overview of the industry for the next couple of years. First of all, AMPAC represents 14 associates, as you can see on the map. We have 11 vehicle manufacturing facilities and 2 engine remanufacturing plants in 8 of the Mexican states. Then you can see all of the brands, and of course now you will see Flavio and Luz Helena participate on this panel that of course are part of AMPAC. What does Mexico represent? I always say that we have 1 foot on the automotive industry and 1 foot on the transport industry. So our vehicles move 56% of the national cargo, 71% of all the goods. The value of the goods that go into the United States are in trucks. Basically 100% of the distribution, 96% of the passengers that travel between states move on buses in Mexico. Usually, not on pandemic, but usually 27% of the students and 41% of the workers. The motor industry, the automotive industry represents almost 6% of the GDP and 2.5 million jobs. This is all the transport companies. The automotive industry represents up to 3% of the GDP and almost 2 million jobs. Mexico is the 4th exporter of heavy-duty vehicles, 6th producer, and #1 exporter of tractor trailers to the world. These are some figures of the previous years. In 2019, we broke a record of production with almost 200,000 units. We also broke a record of exports with 169,000 heavy-duty vehicles. Our internal sales, well, they're not being the best figures yet. We closed down with 42,000 vehicles. And there's one interesting figure that we always give this information. It's for every 100 vehicles, new vehicles that we sell, we import between 25 to 30 used vehicles from the United States. So this is one of the main disadvantages of free commerce, because although we export a lot of new vehicles, many of the used vehicles from the United States are being imported, and these are really old vehicles. The internal market is one of our main challenges. In 2019, we closed sales with 42,000 vehicles, and in the year 2000, our sales were almost 41,000 vehicles. So we're basically selling the same that we did almost 20 years ago. So we increased population by 36%. We increased the registered vehicles at the federal level almost 30%, and our retail sales only increased by 2%. So that's one of our main concerns and main challenges. These are the most recent figures. These are the 2020 figures. This is the monthly production. As you can see, during the months of April and May, with most of our plants were shut down. There's a huge drop in those months, but we're recovering to pre-pandemic levels, between 12, 13, 14,000 vehicles produced every month. We expect this production to increase for the next years due to the increase of sales in the United States. This is our exports. Let's remember that we export vehicles during this year to more than 30 countries. 95% of our exports go to the United States. So that's our main market. And we have a little bit of a drop down in November, but we expect to increase the sales and the exports to the United States on the month of December. These are the retail sales. Usually we have an average of 3,500 units. Right now we are below around 1,000 units to 2,500 units. So that's the main goal for AMPAC right now, to activate the local economy. One of the main concerns, of course, is the imports of used vehicles, but also the availability of ultra low sulfur diesel. In Mexico, we are still using EPA 07 and Euro 5 standards as a minimum. Of course, we can use higher standards, but the availability of diesel is one of our main concerns. Right now, Pemex, which is the main provider of this diesel, it's only mandatory to comply with 19% of the municipalities in Mexico, and the next proposal is to only comply with 7% of the municipalities. So we are working with the government to have an environmental regulation that it complies with the actual level of diesel in the country. It can go up to 80%, but no country in the world has gone to Euro 6 or EPA 17 without 100% mandatory diesel. Whoever's told you otherwise, it's not being precise with information. Just what we're expecting for the next years, our potential demand is up to 67,000 vehicles on the internal market. Our record was in 2007 with 52,000 vehicles. As we mentioned, the sales of 2019 is 42,000, and our projection sales for the next year is 31,000 vehicles. And of course, for 2021, it's our main event that it's done every 2 years, Expo Transporte AMPAC. It's between the 6th and 8th of October of the year 2021. And of course, we expect you all of you to be there. Thank you for the time, Gary.
Thanks, Miguel. You know, that's a great deck. And one of our viewers has already requested to know if that's a deck that can be shared, because there's a lot of good statistics there.
Yes, of course. I will send it to everybody.
Okay, thank you. All right. Flavio, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Flavio Rivera. I am responsible for the commercial operations here in Mexico for the Daimler company. And thank you very much to Mexico Now for inviting to be here. Thank you, Gary, for moderating this panel. And it's an honor to be with Miguel, with Luz Helena, which are absolutely authorities on what they are doing. And thank you, everybody who is attending this panel, because along the next hour, Gary is going to conduct us with some questions and some topics that we are interested to share with you. And particularly in the case of Freightliner, we would like that they join us to discover how Freightliner keeps the world moving. Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Flavio. And of course, Luz Helena, go ahead, please.
Hi, Gary. Hi, Flavio, Miguel. Hi to everyone. Thanks for the invitation to this forum. My name is Luz Helena Jurado. I'm the managing director for Volvo Trucks and Mack Trucks in Mexico. I have an experience of about 26 years in the transport industry. The last 20 years, I have been working in Volvo Group, almost in Volvo Financial Services, and now as an M&D for Volvo and Mack Trucks. I'm so very proud to be part of one of the biggest group in the world, with a mission based in driving prosperity through transport and infrastructure solutions, which involves product offer, telematics, connectivity, fleet management systems, and financial services. We have presence in 190 countries with assembly plants in all the countries with more than 100 employees. More than 1 million Volvo Group vehicles and machines are connected via different telematic solutions. During 2019, the truck sales represented 64% of the total Volvo Group sales. So, well, this is that I cannot talk as an introduction. As Flavio said, there are a lot of topics to discuss and to present, and obviously we'll be open to all your questions and comments for the audience and from you, Gary. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Luz. You know, to our viewers and audience, this is a really special panel. You may be aware that this is the last panel on the 3-day event, and they saved this team because of the specialty expertise that they have, the tenure, the seniority, and to be able to get these executives together for this panel, it is a privilege, and I'm really glad that they're here, you guys, to share your thoughts with us. Normally on the panels, what we often do is we'll go ask questions and go in a round table and ask one question and go to the next person. But because of the level of expertise and the detail that can be shared, once we get into the Q&A, what I think we'll do is we'll just focus on each person. And there'll obviously be several questions. There'll be additional slide decks and presentations and some videos. But instead of going around to each person asking another question, because of the detail of the information, I think the consistency will be better if we just stay with each person until we're done with their special portion. So before starting with this Q&A session, we have a brief message from our organizer. Okay, so let's proceed to the panel. And first up again is Miguel. And as you saw from the overview with his organization, they track not only the automotive industry, but their specialty expertise is heavy duty vehicles. And there were a lot of great statistics there. So maybe now we can talk a little bit more about it. And I guess the question is for you, Miguel, what are the main challenges for the automotive industry that you see for Mexico for the next 5 years?
Well, thank you, Gary, for the question. We have many challenges. One of the main ones, it's the implementation of the USMCA. We need to comply with new regulations. We already comply with the steel and aluminum in order to participate in the start of this new USMCA. The next regulation that we need to comply is to increase the regional value content from 60% to 64% on the year 2024, and then up to 70% in the year 2027. That's one of the main challenges. Another one is one of the downside parts of the USMCA is that we need to control all of the scrap vehicles being imported from the United States. That's a job that Mexico has to do unilaterally, increasing the regulations, the minimum standard of vehicles that should be imported to the country. And because there are risks not only to the economy, but also for the environment and also for the road safety of all the vehicles that are share the roads. Other is the internal market. As you can see on our presentation, we're selling the same number of vehicles that we sold in the year 2000. So it's one of our main goals to increase the internal market. That needs to be done with financing, with incentives, and of course with professionalization. Most of the transport companies in Mexico started as an owner-operator. Now they could be small and medium, and they know how to drive the vehicle, but they not always know how to drive their business. And of course, in this administration, what we're asking for this government is to have really close contact and communication. We don't want any surprise public policies that we've seen on a couple of weeks before. There's some issues between the outsourcing. There's some issues between the value-added tax recovery of this money, and we need to keep the industry competitive. So we're proposing for the new Ministry of Economy that is going to be on the January 1st, Tania Cloutier, to be really open to work together and do not have surprise public policies for the next couple of years. I think those will be one of the main challenges that we could see in Mexico right now.
That's interesting what you say about 2027 for the rules of origin in aluminum and steel content to like 70%. Do you feel we can get there? And does that mean that we might see other steel and aluminum providers coming in from other countries to establish in Mexico or North America in order to take advantage of that requirement?
It might be a possibility. The rule says that you need to have the steel and aluminum from the region. So, there's a new rule. This rule of the steel and aluminum, it's already implemented. So it will promote to use the steel and aluminum of the region at least at a 70% level. But in the year 2027, the scrapping that makes maybe the aluminum and the steel needs to be from the region. Right now, you could have some scraps and have the aluminum and steel in Mexico, Canada, and the United States. But in the year 2027, these materials need also the input for these materials need to be from the region. So this new requirement, we have 7 years for all the steel and aluminum industry to prepare to have you might say like this more regional content, not only transform the raw material here, but also have one way or another the melting of the aluminum and steel from the scrap to also be done in Mexico, United States, or Canada. So this will, of course, promote the steel and aluminum industry of the region, which was one of the main goals of what the United States pretended. But it also needs to be steel and aluminum at a competitive price. Otherwise, we will lose competitiveness with the final vehicles against Europe or against Asia.
Yeah, and so this could bode well for the big steel and aluminum producers in Monterrey region in Mexico City that have been there for 50 years already. But that could be a additional business. And then, like you said, it's regional content. When you're talking then about the USMCA, Miguel, do you see this right now as benefiting the region in general as more of a benefit? How do you view the implementation of it, and how much of a benefit are you seeing?
Let's remember that the automotive industry in Mexico and in the whole region of North America is really important. As I mentioned, Mexico is the first exporter of tractor trailers to the world, is the fourth exporter of heavy-duty vehicles to the world, and is the sixth producer. The United States is the fifth producer. So they're still on top of us regarding the production levels. Of course, the USMCA gives great advantage to maintain all of the investments done in Mexico regarding the facilities, the production facilities. But let's remember that this deal was promoted by the United States in order to have a better advantage in the United States. Mm-hmm. So although as we always say, we need to promote the region, not only the countries. I think this new USMCA that just been implemented for almost 6 months will make Mexico keep the advantage, but of course, it's going to take a lot of work to adjust these new rules. Of course, the manufacturing facilities need to comply with these new rules, but I think we will keep our worldwide ranking #1 exporter, 4th exporter, and 6th producer in the world, although we have these new.
Okay, yeah. the EU has a lot of sustainability standards, and they're further ahead than the US is too. And the US has new environmental standards. What's preventing Mexico from adoption? Is it just the reality that the reliance on diesel is still so high? How do you see the adoption of environmental standards in Mexico?
Well, it's in Mexico. You have most of the vehicles, more than 98% of the vehicles are still diesel vehicles. And this is going to happen in the whole world. Diesel vehicles are not going to disappear in the next 5 years or 10 years. We will still have diesel vehicles. They're really effective vehicles, and the emission of these vehicles are practically goes to zero. Right now, with the highest standards, Euro 6, EPA 17, the emissions are very, very low. The thing is that Mexico does not have mandatory diesel in the whole country. There's mandatory diesel in the United States, mandatory ULSD in Canada, mandatory ULSD in Europe, but it's not 100% mandatory the diesel in Mexico. So until we have this mandatory rule for all of the you might say energy companies, we could not go to only the highest standards. We will need to have a mix between Euro 5 and Euro 6 and EPA 7 and EPA 10 or EPA 17. But of course, we will go to these new technologies, hybrid, electric, natural gas, but we will still keep seeing diesel for many, many years because of the high efficiency and because of the lower emission standards that every year we are practically reducing to none. So in order to advance to natural gas or electric, we need to build the infrastructure to support this. Right now, we will have diesel for at least the next 5 to 10 years, and gradually keep seeing an increase, of course, in hybrids, natural gas vehicles, and electrics, which is the future, the electrics, but it's going to take maybe more time than it's taking in Europe and the United States.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Miguel. That's a great perspective, and I think it explains the logic and the practicality of diesel in Mexico. It's not something you can replace immediately. Thank you. So hopefully you can we'll stay in touch and keep us posted on these changes, because it's we've got to stay ahead of it and understand what's happening. Okay.
Of course.
Thank you, sir. Let's talk with Flavio. Flavio, one of the success stories in worldwide is Daimler in terms of the automotive sector. And since you have, I'm sure, a really unique perspective on how Daimler has grown in Mexico, we're just curious, what have changes have you seen with Daimler? What have been the biggest challenges in growing Daimler and your operating teams in Mexico in the last 20 years?
Yes, Gary, thank you very much for the question. And of course, something that I want to share with you is precisely some notes about it. Definitely, Freightliner has more than 25 years in Mexico. Since it has been established here, the production and the footprint for manufacturing has been growing up. But remember that Freightliner is a part of Daimler company, and as a Daimler, we are commercializing here in this country passenger buses and of course trucks. Since during the last 20 years, we have increasing our manufacturing footprint here, because we have 8 different locations in the country. We are the largest company with presence in Mexico. We have 4 plants, one in Toluca that is a remanufacturing plant. We have 1 plant in Monterrey that is building buses. And we have 2 truck factories, one north of the country that is in Saltillo, another one that is in the state of Mexico. So including with our main distribution center or parts distribution center in San Luis Potosí, definitely is a very deep and a large footprint here. During the last 20 years, the purpose of the company has been to support manufacturing production due to here in Mexico, due to the high quality of our manpower. Of course, also the strategic location that Mexico has worldwide, and the opportunity to research and innovate here in Mexico. There is one question around there that Alejandro is asking if we make some investigation or some development here in Mexico. And of course, the answer is yes, because Mexico has its own geography. Mexico has its own challenges. Mexico is a very unique market, and commercial vehicles are not exception to be adapted to the Mexican requirements. So I would say that along these years, the company's presence has been very important, and for sure is going to continue that way in the future.
Yeah, so I can see that we've already got 14 questions in the Q&A, which means that the messaging and the content we're speaking about is getting everybody's attention. This is great, and thank you for that comment. Did you say that that you've got R&D or testing now in Mexico also, Flavio?
Yes, Gary, of course we do. Of course, that is not a large design scale or is not a full truck designed, but of course we do some investigation, research, and design for the specific trucks applications.
Yeah, okay. Have you seen any technology transfer from other Daimler operating entities, such as cars, that has been transferred and replaced in the last few years into the Freightliners or the heavy commercial vehicle operations?
Oh, yes, of course. Well, if we go to the next slide, please, I will talk a little bit about what is our footprint in terms of manufacturing. I said we have two factories, one Saltillo for trucks, Saltillo and Zodiaco, and between both in 2019, we were close to have 90,000 trucks produced in Mexico. But in the next slide, I'm going to answer specifically your question, and that is absolutely the technology that we are applying. The advantage of being part of a global company is that precisely we can take innovation and other things from different divisions. And in the case of trucks today, the technology that we have for safety features or for the connectivity features, many of them are coming from passenger cars side. But in particular case of the commercial vehicles, there are some specific technologies that even passenger cars do not have, since these trucks have specific complexities for be driven and some specific requirements. Of course, we need to cover that. In the following slide, I want to show you, for example, how connectivity is important. This is something that probably you will not see very frequently in a passenger car, how a truck is connected for real-time information. We have not only telematics information, but also we can make diagnosis remotely, and we are also can make some tracking about a specific truck's performance devices. So with this, you can see how the technology is incorporated in this particular sector. Many people think that because those are commercial vehicles are probably behind of technology. What I can tell you in the case of Freightliner is totally opposite. We are ahead in terms of technology for these trucks. On the following slide, I want to show you, for example, how the connectivity helps on the truck, because it's not only for tracking the location of the truck, but also how it's gonna be connected to other trucks, for example, or how they are gonna be having an interface with systems related with logistics. Think like this. A truck is not only today is not only a thing that carry goods from point A to point B. That is not the case. Today, the truck is a machine that needs to be protective, that needs to be extremely safe. It's a machine that also needs to have permanently connected in order to provide a great service to its customer. All that stuff is precisely what we are thinking when we are designing and when we are producing trucks in our brand. On the following one, and related also to the technology question, Gary, for example, what I can tell you here is that this is the first truck that you can find with automotive level number 2 ISO, according to ISO classification. And that's me. What does mean is that Detroit Assurance is our own system, which can detect not only pedestrians, but also cars or trucks in front of us that suddenly stop. And then the truck can react to a stop and reducing the potential of having a collision. But beyond of that, and that's why we have a classification number 2, is because in case that the truck loses somehow the lane, the truck itself is going to correct and put the truck back on the right direction and helping to the driver, avoiding any major issue. So those are examples about the question, Gary, that you had, how the technology has been imported from other regions or from other divisions when we have a global company like this one.
Okay, thank you. I'm reviewing the questions to see if it's relevant right now. One of the viewers asked regarding this technology, what is the future of autonomous driving? I know that Luz Helena is going to talk about that a little bit. Probably we should ask her that. But one of the viewers said about these technologies, eCall, 5G, and autonomous driving. Are those sectors or technologies that you think your team is also considering for the future here?
Yes, of course. On the next one, image, please. We are going to see what. Well, this is still explanation about the autonomous, but talking about the question specifically autonomy, there is no way that we could think about autonomy without other 2 things. Number 1, connectivity, and number 2, electrical. Both or 3 things are, I would say, are very tight together. In the next one, please, we have talked about connectivity, we have talked about autonomy or autonomous driving, but of course the future is electric. There is already, on the previous one, please, there is already a fleet of Freightliner trucks running since 2017 with customers for electrical application. There is a reality, there is no prototype, there is no test. This is absolutely working truck, which is already running in US. And we have more than 800,000 kilometers riding with our customers. And of course, this is as much as we continue progressing in this technology, we are going to have a new truck generation being more efficient and being more practical for our customers. Now, there is one question around there, Gary, asking you when that technology is going to come to Mexico. It's important to answer that in this way. The technology is there, the truck is there, the everything from the OEM standpoint has been already developed. Now, what we have to do, or that what we need, is to have in the other half in this ecosystem all the infrastructure required for this. Because having this kind of trucks, in terms of infrastructure, we really need to have a very strong communications technology. We need to have systems that can be we need to read those systems 100% of the time, and sometimes it's difficult in our Mexican roads that you can keep a conference call or a cell phone call because the signal is very weak. So this technology, the communications technology, needs to be strengthened. The second thing is absolutely the charging stations. How we are going to recharge these trucks when our power infrastructure is not strong enough in terms of the power generation, power distribution, and of course stations for the charging trucks. So it's also an issue. And the last one, but not the least, is ecology. These batteries, for example, require or demand a very specific handling when the batteries died. So that is very important that we keep an eye also on the disposal of those batteries. With all of that, there is then another opportunity to create electrical trucks. And what we can have an electrical truck with batteries and electricity in charge already, or we have a second choice that is generating electricity inside of the truck. And that is precisely what the cells does. I'm sorry, the cells do. The hydrogen cells are precisely, the job is precisely to generate electricity. And that's why recently, during this year, Daimler joined Volvo in a 50% joint venture between these two companies, Volvo and Daimler, to research and develop cells to generate electricity. This is a truck that can show us that is definitely one opportunities for the future. Electrical trucks where the truck is moved by its own electricity. The goal is to have this one maybe around 2040, but meantime, we see that we need to give some steps to get there.
One last question for you, Flavio, is, that's a really good looking truck, that electronic Freightliner that you showed. And I'm kind of curious, and I love the styling and the design on it. What do you think the price point is going to look like for fleet users? I mean, obviously your biggest customers are these big fleet users, and supply chain is, has become more and more important. So do you have any forecast of how the electric vehicle might be priced versus the hydrocarbon or the diesel consuming vehicle? Is there any talk about that yet?
I think it's not a moment to talk about pricing, since there are a lot of variables involved on this kind of trucks. So as much as we continue having more trucks like this, and we can incorporate them then in an economic scale, we can begin to see more pricing or close to get a pricing. Meantime, it's really not a topic that can give us a direction for a decision.
Yeah, it's up in the air. Same as with the vehicles, the smaller automotive vehicles. It's still a trade-off that they're trying to figure out. And I think the charging stations, which you mentioned too, that's really going to become paramount to the acceptability and the functioning for those purchases. So, thank you, Flavio. That's a fantastic presentation. Great initiatives and great progress with Daimler and Freightliner. I think we should also then now turn to Luz Elena. As I mentioned, that the Volvo team is very proud of this joint venture they have with Daimler. And I guess one of the questions for Luz is, You know, we know, Luz, as we've gotten to know you better, that Volvo is really, really focused on technology. So we got a pretty good perspective from Flavio on his technology. But you're talking, I think, also about your technology and its ability to transform customers or to service customers. What can you share with us about your technology initiatives?
Thank you, Gary. I think, well, in this case, we are going to start talking about technology, and I think it's very important to talk alternative fuels. Like Flavio has already started talking about electric and electric trucks. However, I think we can talk and continue talking about the new technologies related, how we can improve and help the customers to be more efficient and to have a high productivity in the company. So saying that we can talk about connectivity. Connectivity, the main objective for the connectivity is to start analyzing or knowing what is happening into the truck at the same time that the truck is on the road. And of course, connectivity needs to be is related with telematics. Here in Volvo and now in Mexico is available remote diagnostic and remote programming, for example, and we have both offers in Mack and in Volvo. With remote programming and with remote diagnostic, that we are trying to do is to have the truck most of the time on the road and stop and has less time the trucks in the workshops with our dealers. So in our case, for example, remote programming is not just to update software. In our case, with remote programming, we can start changing the different parameters of the trucks without the necessity to go to the workshop. So it's always looking, and Volvo is always looking how to be part of the business and how to support our customers to have a high productivity, a high efficiency, and the customers can cover the commitments that they have with the final customers. So as we have already talked about telematics, remote diagnostic, remote programming, but I think it's very important to talk to about the fleet management solutions that we have in order to drive the customer's productivity. Through a user-friendly fleet management, our customers have the opportunity our customers have the opportunity to optimize their operation in an easy way. With connected services, customers' daily operations can become more efficient and profitable. The fleet management allows easy access to relevant and useful information about the trucks, thereby helping our customers to take much more precise decisions. Volvo Trucks offers tailor-made solutions for a specific need of our customers, including the management of the fleet with the transport with DynaFleet, get personalized advices on how to improve fuel efficiency, and get easy access to all digital services and data on Volvo Connect. So we have different solutions here related with productivity, connectivity, like DynaFleet, full advice, driver development, operations, optimization systems that right now are in place in all the units that we are selling around the world, and of course in the units that we are selling in both brands in the country. No? And if you allow me a little bit, Gary, Flavio started talking about the electric trucks. I think there are another challenges. He has already talked about infrastructure, but I think it's very important to talk about the legislation. It's very important that the governments of the different countries put the rules and be very clear the rules in order to have these kind of trucks running in different countries in the world. And of course, the incentives. This is a very, very important. I think is the next step of the of the transport industry to go to the electrics or to go to the automotive, to go to the electric trucks. But it's very important to have these kind of incentives from the different governments of the countries. Why? Because it's a very big investment. It's not cheap. Obviously will be very beneficial for the transport companies, but at the same time for the society, because we need to take care about the pollution in all the world. But it's needed that the government will involve or will be partner in this kind of developments. We as providers, in the case of Volvo Trucks, we have already made investments, and the customers could be could be customers that are interested to make that investments. But at the same time, we have the commitment from the government in order to help us to push that technology. So I think it's very important. The government is very important in these kind of projects. Just for your knowledge, in Volvo Trucks, we have already made an investment of $400 million in our plant that we have in New River Valley in Virginia, in order to start the production for electric trucks for electric trucks in North America. If you saw the news, if you watch the news, or if you have the opportunity to see the news last week, we have the formal launch in North America for the electric trucks for North America. We have already sold the first 50 trucks in California. And in Europe, in North America, we have the Veoneer electric truck available right now. We have already started the production, as I already said, in New River Valley. But at the same time, in Europe, we have already started the production and the product offer with the FE and the FH for electric options too. So right now we are ready in order to start offering this technology. We can bring to Mexico if Mexico will be ready to do it. But well, you know, right now we couldn't go from, we extended, or the government accept the extension in the norm 044 to continue with the Euro 5 and not go to Euro 6 as an obligation, or GHG or another technologies, because we don't have the availability of the high level quality diesel that we need. So I think that here is a very important call for the government, for all the people involved in the transport segment, not just for the providers as us, or not just for the customers, it's for the government. How can be possible? We need your support. We are alone right now. So that will be a very important part.
So Luz, one more question before we get to the next topic is, you know, this is absolutely amazing that Volvo's already advanced to the point where it's got vehicles on the road in California, which obviously is adaptive because it's setting up charging stations and stuff in California for private vehicles. But what my question is do you have any, can you share with us what the range of these prototype vehicles are that are on the road already, what the actual mileage range might be?
We in the video that we launched last week, we talk about the capacity of the of these kind of trucks. These kind of trucks, the Veoneer that has already launched, can run around 240 kilometers without any requirement of recharge. So this is not, and this is very important, because in Europe, when we made this launch of the product, was very focused in the distribution into the cities. Now we were talking about 240 kilometers. Obviously, it depends how the load, how much is load the cargo that you are moving, but we are talking up to 240 kilometers. So I think this is a very big step. Because we are not just talking distribution into the city, is taking an advantage to run medium distances. The big challenge right now is to start running long distances. And here Flavio talked about the situation with this joint venture that we have already signed. We have already started working together just for the hydrogen fuel cells project that we have. Obviously, we continue like competitors in our product offer, but I have a video, if you don't mind, that I can share with you and the audience related with this, why we made this joint venture and how it's going on.
Climate change is the challenge of our generation, and for us in the transport industry, that means that we need to deliver upon a fossil-free transport system. On that journey, electrification will play a very important role, and we are early out in the Volvo Group, and already today we are offering solutions, battery electric vehicles for buses, for trucks, construction equipment, and for power solutions. Batteries are great for certain applications, but when we're talking about long-haul applications, when we're talking about heavy construction machines, then the batteries will be too heavy, they will be too bulky, and that's where fuel cells come into play. In a fuel cell vehicle, the hydrogen on board of the vehicle is the energy storage. And the fuel cell as such, it's an electrochemical cell converting the chemical energy in the hydrogen into electricity. Fascinating, you're using oxygen, converting the chemical energy in the hydrogen into electricity, water and heat. The electricity generated on board will be used for propulsion of the vehicle. We have now signed an agreement with Daimler Trucks in order to set up a 50-50 joint venture where we're going to develop and produce fuel cell systems for heavy applications. Next step is that we are awaiting green light from the competition authorities. We have the clear intention to be on the market somewhere between 2025 and 2030, but long before that you will see field test vehicles and commercial pilots on the roads.
So I think this video gives a little bit more information about this joint venture that we have already signed. And of course, as the video said, we are just waiting the last authorization from the legal entities in order to start working on. But we'll be ready between 2025, 2030.
Is there anything else you'd like to share regarding your thoughts on autonomous vehicles?
Yes, well, with automation is another technological area that opens for a new possibility in the transport industry. When it comes to autonomous solutions, we focus on transport assignments where it adds most value in highly repetitive, short-distance transport flows with large volumes of goods. Ports, factories, areas, and logistic megacenters are such areas where we see that the autonomous solutions can have an application. We have right now a prototype which is called Vera, which you can see, we are going to see a video. It's a very short video in order to understand a little bit what is happening with Vera. As I have already said, this is an example of a self-driving vehicle presented by the Volvo Group, and by now it's a prototype, and we have some of these trucks in a testing program in Europe. So if you don't mind, I can share this video too.
It's designed to be safe, it's quiet and totally predictable, down to the cost savings. Nothing similar to what you've seen from us before. In fact, it's impossible to drive.
This is Vera, an autonomous vehicle. Vera is part of a larger system and has the potential to optimize transports in highly repetitive, short-distance transport flows with large volumes of goods, such as ports, factory areas and logistic megacenters, offering better delivery precision and flexibility. The autonomous electric vehicles operate together in a network and are connected through a cloud-based service and management center. We want to make it easier for clients and partners to run their business. We are now presenting a highly effective system for moving goods 24/7, as a complement to what's available today. The pace of society and increasing global trade is placing high demands on efficient and sustainable transport solutions. E-commerce is growing fast, and we have a widespread shortage of truck drivers. Autonomous, electric, and safer vehicles have a great role to play.
Our autonomous solutions open up for new possibilities. It's exciting to know that the full potential of the transport industry is yet to be seen.
Vera this project is in level 5 of high automation, Gary. Okay.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
so Vera is the prototype. Yeah, that's interesting. Luz, have one of the viewers asked if you know anything about Tesla ever wanting to come to Mexico. And while I'm certainly familiar with Tesla's new prototype truck, which is very futuristic looking, as everybody knows, doesn't look like a truck. Do you foresee any penetration in the commercial market from Tesla?
Well, obviously, right now is not available. No, could be a project. I don't know, and it could be and it must be a very important competitor. No, for Mexico in the future. But I think that before that, there are another brands that we have been in Mexico for many years with a strong aftermarket support, because it's not just talking about, and now we can talk that there is a lot of Chinese new brands in Mexico for example, gas product offer with a very cheap offer. But the point, and this is something that I have been talking always with the customer, is not just to be focused in the price of the truck. You need to see which is the transport solution that the provider is offering you. So the truck would be very cheap, but could be very cheap because you are not going to have the great support or all the support that you need. And we are talking about dealer network, which is necessary, training, spare part investments, etc. No? So I think always, right now there is a lot of people and companies that are interested to come to Mexico and to conquer the Mexican market with different alternatives. But it's really very important just to make evaluation for all the offer and not just for the truck.
Yeah, and there's a perception that specifically with Chinese automotive right now, that the European brands have a significant advantage and a long lead time. As you say, it's not just the price on the vehicle, it's the integration of the system with the transportation and the needs of the consumers. So we're watching the Chinese entry into Mexico, and with the Pacific Rim China Plus One, we're seeing that with a lot of manufacturers. We're seeing that happen, but I don't think you have too much to worry about with the Chinese vehicles for a long time.
No, I'm not worried. I'm worried for, and I don't know if Flavio can add another comment. I'm not worried. I'm not against any brand, or I'm not afraid or worried about the competition. I think the competition is something logical. I'm more worried about the customers, because they need to be very focused in to take care the productivity and the efficiency of their companies, and it's not just focus, because in the same, when you are talking about money and you say that the truck could cost 30% less than the ones that we are selling right now in Mexico, will be very attractive, but you need to make all the evaluation. And it's not I'm not concerned for me or for Volvo, for Mack, or for other big competitors. I'm more concerned for the customers, that they need to have this holistic vision of the business.
Yeah, and thanks to the European cultural perspective, you've brought that to your manufacturing, and that's evident. Great video. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So to let the audience know, we're almost done, and I believe we could have this become a 3-hour, 4-hour session and get more granular and detailed. So as promised, this became one of the best panels in the 3 days of this Mexico Now event. And now I've got 23 questions here. So to the viewers who are sending questions in, my comment will be, we'll get back to you. Some people are sending in email addresses. Some people have questions specifically for Luz and Flavio. But I think what we'll do is we'll consolidate the questions and get the names of the people and the addresses, send them, and we'll send them to you, Luz, and to you, Flavio, okay? And there were some other additional questions for Miguel also. So that'll give us time to do a wrap up here. And I think with the wrap up, what we could do is, now that we've heard your vision of where we're at and what the challenges have been, I'd like to just go around to each of our panelists and say, what do you see? Remember, the name of the panel is Heavy Duty Vehicles 2021 to 2025. So how do you see the differences? Let's go with Miguel first. In the industry in general and what you view between what's going to happen next month in January 2021, and where do you see the industry or the sector at the end of 2025? Any thoughts on that, Miguel?
Yes. First of all, I will comment on the technologies. We will see diesel vehicles. Of course, we will see a very big increase in electric, hybrids, and natural gas. But for the next 5 years, we will see still the vast majority will be diesel vehicles. And we expect, at least in these 5 years, to Mexico have the ultra low sulfur diesel in order for us that we already have the new technology to take advantage of that ultra low sulfur diesel and get the reduction in emissions. And of course, we will expect to be at a full recovery of this 2020 that many of us want to forget. But we expect for the next year a truly recovery. And on third level, I think we will be preparing for the next 4 years in the next step regarding the USMCA to increase the 4% additional regional value content on our heavy duty vehicles. That will be a very important issue. And we expect for the government to do not give us any more public policy surprises. We need to keep the advantage of Mexico as a highly efficient, productive automotive industry. The whole chain is working fine. Don't try to fix what it's not broken. And thank you, Gary, for moderating this panel.
Thank you. Yeah, and you're right. The integration of North America has been deeply integrated for the last 20 years, and to unbolt the supply chain is nearly impossible. So, I think your comments are good, and hopefully the political risk will be something that moderates over the next few years. I think that's a good comment. So, okay, Flavio, for your company, and rather than just the industry and the sector, for your company, where do you see next month, January 2021, and where do you see your company and your specific operations maybe in 5-6 years after that? What would you like to see?
Gary, basically, as I said at the beginning, in Freightliner, we have the vision to keep the world moving. So for the next month, we expect to continue being the leader in market in Mexico as we have been during the last 5 years, and we expect also that in 2020 we are going to close the year as a leader in the market. So for the rest of for the next 5 years, of course, we are going to provide to our customers full service of attention. We are totally dedicated to attend them, not only providing trucks but also providing service and joining them to make their businesses more productive and more supporting the challenges that they are going to face with their customers as well. So for the next years, of course we expect to have a recovery from what 2020 has given to us. So we think that we will see a positive trend year over year, and hopefully we will see someday that the 66,000 market that Mexico should have, and as Miguel showed in the first chart. So is what we are thinking.
Thank you. Luz, you know, this joint venture that that Daimler and Volvo have created is a really positive thing. Do you see your team in maybe other sectors besides fuel cell technology looking to do more joint ventures or R&D with other companies wherever they're located between now and 2021 and 2025? How do you see your team and your group operationally in 5 years?
Yeah, well, we are always looking for, I think we are, as a company, we have two main focus, the customer success, but at the same time, take care about the environment. No, our slogan is move the world we want to live in. So it's very important to be very productive, that the customers earn money, etc. But at the same time, we really need to take care about the world where we are living and where our sons and our grandsons we are going to live. So there is a lot of interest from the group to making continued investments in order to reduce diesel use in all the world and to be more responsible about the environment in all the brands that we are managing in all the world, because we are owners not just for Mack and for Volvo brands. There are other brands that we have around the world, but we are always with the same focus: how to reduce pollution, how to have healthy cities in the world, and at the same time how to support the customer in order to be more efficient and profitable, and taking care about the society too.
Your message resounds with everyone. We are all in this together. And it's evident that the big effort Volvo is making to be holistic like that. So that message comes through loud and clear. Just want you to know that. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So to all of our viewers, we now have 33 questions. We promise you we will forward those to Miguel and Flavio and Elena. Make sure you have some way of reaching back to you with an email address or a phone number. There's a variety of different kinds of questions. I'm really, and the fact that there's 33 questions in there really underscores the fact that the panel was valuable and that the executives on the panel shared some really great thoughts and trends and how they see the world. So with that, I guess what I'm going to say is that this officially ends our panel, and we want to thank Miguel, Flavio, and Luz Elena, and to every one of our viewers, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.